Hey y'all, it's Pastor Scott, and I am here for this week's Real Talk. I've been away for a few weeks, and so we've been using this platform to be able to share important messages that are happening within the walls of this church. And so I'm excited to be back. Real Talk is our weekly video check-in series where we have an opportunity to share what's going on with the church or different programs or even just our community. And so this week I'm going to use this time to talk about our Summer in the Sandbox series. This coming up weekend is week 4, and I'm going to be talking about calling. And so when I talk about calling, I'm talking about things that allow us to focus on something that's important. I remember when my dad said to me a long time ago, find something that you love to do and make them pay you for it. And there's other people that say, if you find something you're passionate about, you'll never work a day in your life. Those kind of things. And I think it's really important for us to find our passions. And sometimes our passions are not necessarily the jobs themselves, but it might be some of the things that we do within the jobs. I was never passionate about selling office equipment or to work where I would sell engineering hours to an international engineering firm. That wasn't really my passion. But some of the things that were part of my job and my responsibilities were passions of mine, like connecting with people and meeting new people and being able to teach people and share different things that my company could provide, the goods and services that we could provide, and solve problems to help people. Those are some of the passions that I carried. And so I was able to use some of those passions in the world. So obviously for me, coming into ministry is a calling. And for most, if not all of the people, they're called in one way or the other. As a matter of fact, one of the things that happens when we go through this process is we have to repeatedly share our call story. And so I've shared some of that with you previously, and I'm going to touch on other parts of it this weekend as part of this sermon. But the call story for everybody is different. For some people, it could be a strike lightning moment, one moment that just changed their lives forever, and they felt that they needed to go follow Jesus. For others like me, it might have been a combination of things. It might have been the fact that I've been wrestling with God, similar to the way that Jacob wrestled with God on the banks of the Jordan. And I just look at it and I said, I'm not seeing what other people are saying, where they say, Scott, you're being called to ministry. You really need to consider this. I didn't see it for a long time. And somebody said, don't you wish you would have seen this or understood this when you were in your early 20s? And I thought about it for a second and I said, no, because I would have missed out on a lot of other life experiences had I not gone the way that I did. So I think it's for me personally, it's okay. I'm glad where I am today. And so one of the things that I've learned over my life is that I am really interested in making a difference for people. And so if you're on the Enneagram scale, if you know what the Enneagram is, I am a 2 wing 3. So I'm the helper and the achiever. So I like to help people. I like to help people achieve their goals, help them with whatever it is that they want to accomplish in life. But I also want to achieve, which means that I want them to be successful. And so I'm constantly some of my colleagues and friends that I'm in a covenant group with know me as the cheerleader. I am somebody that likes to go and support my friends that I am close with. So one of the things that I found throughout this process is that I've kind of evolved in some of the ways that I look at myself and what's important. In the younger years, I looked more at job titles and salaries, and I viewed that success, helped create passion, and in some ways it did, but I also kind of called it like fake hustle, like only diving for the ball when the coach is around. I really like to look at it in a way where we have some authenticity, and so I found that in this second part of my life, and looking at going into ministry has been a more authentic view for me personally. So I share that because as we get into calling and we talk about that this weekend, I'm going to be focusing on a scripture from Luke. And you can look this up, and I would suggest maybe you do before we get to this Sunday, but Luke chapter 5, verses 1 through 10. This is where Jesus calls his disciples. This is where Simon and other disciples like John and James, who were sons of Zebedee, they they find out who this Jesus person is that they've been hearing about. They've never met him before, and now here's this guy that comes and tells them how to fish, and it's a pretty neat story. But the key thing about it is it's Jesus calling out to his disciples, and his disciples dropping everything they have and they follow Jesus. And so when we look at this and we find this opportunity where we hear callings in our lives, and for those of us that go in the ministry, this is where we have that decision to make, where we can drop things in our lives and go follow Jesus and go into ministry. And so as we go through this, I'm going to share some stories about my own personal life, but I'm also going to share some other stories. I'm going to share a story about the sweet woman that I met down at an annual conference when I was in Hampton, who was making omelets for people at the hotel. I know that you might say, well, how does that have to do with calling? I'll share that with you later. But I think it's one of those things that once you identify what your gifts are and what your calling is, that you can use those gifts in different ways. So I hope that you'll enjoy that. The other thing I want to share with you is because I am now licensed, which is a really cool thing, and I'm really thankful for all the notes and cards and texts and phone calls and Facebook messages that this community has shared with me. You guys have been such an amazing, supportive group. But being licensed affords me the opportunity to do some things that I haven't done before. I could go get a marriage license and I can be involved in funerals. I've done that in my past before. However, I've never been able to baptize babies, and I've never been able to serve communion or uh, provide the elements of communion. So I look at this as such a wonderful experience. And I'll tell you this little story. There's a gentleman that I went to licensing school with. His name is Eddie. And Pastor Eddie, who will take that title this weekend, along with the 27 other people that I was in licensing school with, they will be at their churches for the first time this weekend, except for a handful of us who have already been serving in the churches that we were being appointed to. Many of them will show up to their churches for the first time. They will meet their congregation. They will meet the people that they will be serving. They will be doing a sermon. So I pray for them, and I hope that you will consider that too. But my friend Eddie, I believe is late 60s, maybe 68 years old. He had talked about being on Medicare, so I know he's for a few years. So I'm just going to guess he's around 68 years old. Mandatory retirement in the United Methodist Church for clergy is 72. So I said to Eddie, I said, Eddie, I got a question for you. You're starting ministry, and then you're going to be retiring within a couple of years. Why? Like, why do that now? I mean, you could continue doing the lay servant ministry and doing other things. And he said to me, and it still gives me chills when I think about it. He said, Scott, um, as we sat there and ate dinner with our colleagues, he said, there's something I really want to do, and I want to do for our family before I can't do it anymore. And so I said, well, what's that? He goes, I want to baptize my mom. And I think about how important that must be for him. And so this Sunday, my friend Eddie is going to baptize his mom, and he wouldn't be able to do that without being licensed. And so it is such an important piece for him to be able to do that. So likewise for him, there's an important piece that we also get to do, and that is to preside over the elements for the Last Supper or for Holy Communion. And so this Sunday, I am going to be sharing communion for the very first time at the 8 o'clock and the 10 o'clock services. And I just want to share with you how important that is for me. And I didn't realize how important it was for me until I started going down this path. I didn't decide to go into this world of ministry with the thoughts of serving communion. I did it with the thoughts of being able to help people when they're at their lowest times. And that's what spoke to me, is to be able to hold the hands of those that are sick and that are dying, to pray with those that are in need, and to love unconditionally those that are in our communities. And that's why I got into it. But along the way, I learned how important communion is and how it's been for me in my life. the body and blood of Christ that was shed for us, that gift alone from God. If you just take a step back and close your eyes and just think about the sacrifice that Jesus gave to us, how important that is. And then this weekend, I get to share that gift with you. And I thought about, wow, there's really nothing better than that. When we were at annual conference, I'm going to try and say this without the pollen getting in my way, because I've been a little emotional since this whole thing has happened. For those that have seen and been around me, like I said, I'm a big softie. But Sally Block and Melissa Billman came up to me and they handed me a gift after being licensed, and it was just such a nice, sweet moment. I couldn't even talk. I couldn't even get the words out. I hope one day Sally and Melissa and I can have a beer or a glass of wine and talk this over and have a laugh about it. But it was an important moment for me, and they handed me this gift, and I had gotten my composure. I'd gotten back to my hotel room. I opened the gift up and I started crying again because, again, I'm a big softie. Um, but they presented me with a gift that I think is just such a special thing that I'll be able to carry with me for the rest of my ministry. And so I'm going to show it to you now. They uh, bought me this wonderful communion serving plate that I will be using this weekend. And so for my very first time of communion, I will be using this wonderful plate that I received from Sally and Melissa. And then this chalice, this cup, will be used also for communion for the cup. And so um, I'm so thankful for that gift from them. I know that they shared that it's an extension from the Herndon community, but it is such a beautiful way for me to be able to start my ministry off by being able to provide communion for you, to be able to use these wonderful gifts that I received. And I hope um, that you'll be there. And I hope that have a chance to either 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock to come. And so I do want to share one thing about 8 o'clock. The weather may not look that great. So if the weather looks like it's going to still thunderstorm, they're calling for 70% chance of rain and thunderstorms. We will cancel the 8 o'clock service and then just have the 10 o'clock and the 5 o'clock. And so, but if the 8 o'clock is still on, we'll be doing communion at both. So what all that means to say is just keep an ear out, keep an eye out. That announcement will come out Saturday night, and I just hate for people to come up here if we've canceled the service because of the threat of inclement weather. So, but with that, I just want to say thank you again. I'm really excited. I'm excited to be called in the ministry. I'm excited to be a local licensed pastor, and then I'm traveling down this world of being commissioned and then become a fully ordained elder, like the way Jonathan is today. I am also so thankful for Joanne, who is going through the process of her commissioning this year. And so I will be praying for and with her as she journeys down this path. And I'm really, really excited that she will be standing beside me to serve communion this weekend. Relationships develop over time, and I view Joanne as a really, really good friend and close friend. And with Jonathan out of town on vacation, which he is, so well deserved, and I hope that he has a wonderful time. I'm just thankful that Joanne will be there, and then Mallory will also help with the serving this weekend. To have both of them is going to be really special for me, and I just I say to them, thank you for your friendship, and I'm really excited to be with you guys. So with that, I hope you guys have a great week. I can't wait to see you this Sunday. I hope that you'll come out and enjoy communion, and enjoy the service with me and be able to partake in the elements for the first time. And I ask for grace because it will be my first time. So I pray that all will go well. But I'm just thankful for the opportunity. So have a great week. Looking forward to see you guys. Just remember one thing: you are loved.